Have you ever asked yourself the question, how could this be easier? Well, my next guest, Chris Westfall, dedicated his most recent book, Easier, to sharing 60 ways to make work and life easier, to make work for you. Chris, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to see what we're going to make. I have no idea what's coming next, and I love it.
Well, inside of Easier, Chris shares the story between a coach and a client that's about a journey of discovery. So tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind Easier and about the book itself.
This book was a complete surprise. This book was not the book that I intended to write at all. It's not what I pitched to Wiley, but when I got into the story, I pitched them on 100 tips and techniques for the future of work. And once I got into that, it was like writing 100 blog posts. And I just didn't want to do that. And so I decided to challenge myself. And I didn't know if I could write this book because Easier, it's a business fable. So it's a story. And it's based on the conversation that happens between a client and a coach. So the client comes to the coach because he's frustrated with his job. And he doesn't feel like he's making an impact. And he wants to know what's next. And he feels like he might want to leave his job, but he doesn't have the courage to do so. So he hires a coach. And from that intention comes the transformation. And I wanted to see if I could share 60 ways to make the world of work for you. But I didn't want it to be like tips and techniques. I wanted it to be 60 organic and authentic ways that came out of the story. So that was what I just presented myself with, and it was a bit of a creative exercise to see if I could create this world. But what I discovered inside of it was that, well, a few things. First of all, frustration can turn into transformation. And there are a lot of people out there that are frustrated. And I know I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I know what it's like to be frustrated when things aren't just so. But at the same time, I know that there is always an easier way. And that's not motivational mumbo jumbo. That is true. There is always an easier way. We just don't see it. And I wondered if I could point in the direction of that easier way, whatever it is people are facing. And in the course of this story, the client faces some of the most difficult circumstances professionally that anyone can face anywhere, anytime. And yet, in spite of difficult circumstances, he finds a way to a conversation that opens up possibilities. And it's really a story of renewal and resilience and ultimately personal freedom, which I think is the thing that everyone's looking for right now. And when you find a freedom to be who you really are, to really express yourself and to step into that identity in a new way, everything gets easier.
It might surprise you to discover that one of my earliest lessons about Easier was in the kitchen. I mean, I love to have people over for dinner, and I was surprised people would always comment on the recipes that took the least time and the fewest ingredients. And right now, when people are talking about burnout and still trying to be well, I think about how can we make the kitchen, the experience of taking great care of yourself with food, easier. So if you're up for it, I'd love to show you a little technique.
I'm up for anything. Yes.
Well, we're going to try out the experiment inside of his book where the coach becomes the client. So the first thing we're going to do is look in the direction of starting your day off right with a healthy breakfast that you can throw together in less than 5 minutes. Does that sound easier?
Yes, that sounds great.
And tell us, at least for our viewers, what is your level of culinary experience?
It is whatever low is, it's below that. I am not a cook. I've been eating my whole life, but I am not really a cook or a chef or anywhere near anything like that.
So we'll call you the DoorDash guy, maybe. We are at DoorDash level. That's okay. You know, for getting started, in case you're worried about, any things that might be flying around, I'm a little bit partial in case you need an apron to this one. Is that a problem?
I see you got the apron that represents. I like that. That's good.
All right. Well, the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and take this ball jar from me.
Okay.
What you're looking for is something that is tall and cylindrical. So go ahead and take the lid off of that, and it needs to have an airtight lid. Pop the cap off for me, if you will.
Sure.
Now measure a half a cup. And now I've selected gluten-free oats.
Okay.
That's what I prefer, but any kind of flat rolled oat will do. So measure a half a cup and pour it
this
into,
is a half a cup.
that is a half a cup measure.
Whoa.
If it doesn't turn out, I guess you can blame the equipment.
Not the operator?
Not the
So half a cup
operator.
of-
So,
where does it
and
go?
pour it on
Into
into
the-
this jar, if you would, for me,
Okay,
please.
whoops, I spilled a few, all right.
That's okay. We are
Okay, there
looking
we
in the
go.
direction of completion, not perfection. So the next task that we're going to do is you're going to take this pitcher, which has almond milk in it, but you can use any kind of dairy you prefer.
Okay.
And you're going to pour it in there until you've got about an inch covering those oats. So we're making something called overnight oats. Go ahead and pour that in.
So an inch over the oats?
Yes, please. We want it fully covered. And keep going. If a few of them float up, that's okay. Now, at this point, you can...
Is that about right?
That looks great.
Okay.
At this point, you could pause and stir in something like a little bit of vanilla or something if you wanted. But what we've selected for today, just a pinch of salt. So go ahead and just
A
use your
pinch,
fingers.
okay.
Sprinkle a little pinch of salt in there if you would.
Okay.
And then we're going to take a tablespoon of maple syrup. So that's a tablespoon measure right there.
Very nice, got it.
And pour that in, please.
Okay. For the viewers at home, a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. I do know that.
Well, I feel like math might be your easier subject.
Right, maybe. I just exhausted my knowledge. If there's anything in the kitchen. But anyway, all right. So there's that.
All right. Now, all you have
Okay.
to do, you can put the teaspoon measure down there
Put it down. Okay.
and screw the lid on.
Okay.
And what we've done, if you can show everyone here, is we're essentially creating a blank canvas. And when we think about easier and we think about choices, you and I have talked before about the power of how an artist sees the world as a blank canvas.
Right.
Because you can create anything. Talk to us a little bit about creation inside of easier.
Well, I believe that creation is what we're all put on this earth to do, quite frankly. And that means creating partnerships, relationships, innovative products, pitches for investors, or even recipes. Human beings are designed to create. And so, since creativity is our nature, the more that we step into creating things, creating partnerships, agreements, creating adventures and experiences, that's when we find our true nature, our true human nature, which is an identity that isn't made up of ego. It's not about the title on your business card or the size of your office or your address or anything like that. It's really about who we are as human beings. And when we understand that, then we can make things easier from just that new understanding. At least that's been my experience.
Well, as we're looking in the direction of what we're creating here, I'm going to ask you to put that inside of the refrigerator for me.
All right, cover
Just
me up,
behind
Lauren.
you.
Got it?
Who knows what we'll see on the inside, right? All right, and all we're going to do is put that inside and let it rest. And now through the magic of television, after that has rested overnight, I'm going to show you what we've created here. It looks like this. So now go ahead and take the lid off.
Okay.
And if you would please just stir up the contents.
Stir it up, okay. Oh my gosh, wow.
And now what we've got is the blank canvas that we were talking about. And what we're going to do is look in the direction of how to make this delicious in a way that's very easy.
Okay.
And when you and I talk about tools for creativity, we talk about asking great questions, one of which is, what else could this be? And that's what we're going to explore in a hands-on way with the ingredients that we have here. But talk about the power of that question in relationship to creation, to people who might be feeling stuck right now and not seeing a path to easier or to choices.
Well, the reason people feel stuck, and this is in my own experience, and consider your own experience, when we feel stuck is when we don't see possibilities. Mm-hmm. When we feel like, and you and I have talked about this, and you've mentioned it, that there's only one way to win, mm-hmm. right? And it's like the player that says to the coach, well, coach, there's only one way to win. Can you imagine saying that to a coach? Coach would say, sit down. The object of the game is to find every possible way to win. And if you're wondering how many possibilities there are at any given moment, I'll tell you the exact number. It's infinite. It's always infinite. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do next, but I mean, what we could put into this is absolutely infinite. The possibilities, from nothing to anything that you can possibly imagine. So if those possibilities exist in a small cup of oatmeal, what kind of possibilities exist for us, for our companies, for our careers, for our relationships, for the people that we care about? What possibilities are out there that we just aren't seeing? And sometimes having a coach, having another perspective. And I want to say thank you for your perspective, because your perspective has informed my own in so many ways. But when you have someone else's perspective, things get easier, and you don't, because you don't feel like you have to go it alone. I mean, if I had to create this on my own, nobody would want to eat it. I promise you. But you know what? Because I'm here with you, I know that I'm going to have the perspective that's going to inform my own. And also, I'm already feeling very capable. I mean, you may be watching this and think that this isn't very special, but I think that it is. Because this is what we've made. So what else can we put in this and that points in the direction of possibilities?
Well, we all want the same thing, which is the freedom to choose. And in fact, there's a very popular podcast that two working mothers started called Didn't I Just Feed You? And they discovered what's true in corporate America is true for picky kids as well, which is choice matters. And when we participate in creating the choices, creating our own combinations, and we feel the freedom to choose, we have a better experience. Things feel easier. So I've assembled some choices here for you. We've got some almonds.
Love it.
Some cashews, granola, a little collagen powder. You could use protein powder.
I'm in.
We've got some berries, and I'll show you a fancy trick to make those look nice. A little almond butter, peanut butter. So choose whatever you'd like to make your own creation there.
Well, I'm going to do this by process of elimination. So I'm going to say no to the peanut butter, but yes to the almond butter. How's
Okay,
that?
that sounds
And of
great.
course the granola. So what do? I just grab whatever? Okay,
Yes,
so
grab what
this-
you want. We've got a spoon.
Okay, I get it. And so I'm going to put a little almond butter in there.
Yes, a little almond butter.
How much do you need?
However
to put in?
much sounds good to you when
Oh
you
my
look
gosh,
at it.
that truly is freedom of choice, isn't it?
That is freedom of choice.
And then I can do this. Can I just use
Absolutely.
this spoon right in here? See, I need you to say why not to me. Why not?
Why not?
That's what she always says to me. Why not? Okay, there we
Says
go.
it can't be
All right.
done. Well, a really important skill that I learned in culinary school, something I think
Yes.
is true for all of us, is we eat with our eyes first.
Yep.
So I'm going to show you a little trick to make this look nice. So
Good.
I'd like for you
Strawberries,
to
yeah.
choose a strawberry here.
Or just anyone? This
Any
is like
strawberry
this is
looks
like
good.
pick a card, any card.
Pick
Here
a
we
card,
go.
any card. All
All
right.
right, that's mine.
So you're going to pick up your knife
Okay,
here. And
this
I'll,
is mine?
Yes,
Okay.
that knife is yours. And what we're going to do is make a series of very thin slices, leaving that strawberry still attached at the top. So see how I'm making
Thin
these
slices,
small
yes.
slices next to each other. Ideally, they're even, but it's not required.
Okay.
All right,
sure that
so
you're
once you
getting
make those slices,
Okay, I'm making slices.
you're doing a great job.
Thank
Yes.
you. I appreciate the encouragement.
We
I'm just trying to
want-
keep my fingers attached.
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
Everyone to leave intact. And all you have to do is if you start to spread that sideways, see how it opens up into a nice fan?
Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that.
And now you can put that right down on top.
Oh, like this?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, look
Make
at
something
that.
look appealing. All right, then most
at that,
important
that's
part
beautiful.
is now your taste test.
Oh my goodness.
You can adjust anything because this is something that's
I'm out of
critical when we
taste.
create choices, right? We can always choose again.
I'm going to choose to bite this right now. This is delicious. This is fantastic.
Was it easier, even with no cooking skill?
So easy.
Could you do this in 5 minutes or less?
I think so. Oh my gosh, this is great. Did I really make this?
Yes, you did. And
Wow.
if you're up for it, maybe next we'll transition into trying something for dinner, something that might entice you to put some routines, rituals, and boundaries in place that make you want to leave your office at the end of the day.
I love it. Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Sounds great.
Hybrid work. Employees want it, employers need it, and everyone has questions. When done right, facilitating flexible work can be a win-win for everyone. Happier employees, engaged teams, and better business outcomes. Robin is here to make the logistics easy. Our all-in-one workplace experience platform helps thousands of companies reimagine their approach to work. To learn more about how we make hybrid work work, visit robinpowered.com.
Karen, I got to tell you, that breakfast was absolutely delicious, but the day's gone on, and I got to tell you, I'm feeling a little hungry. So what else have you got?
Well, when I think about making work and life easier, a critical aspect of that is having routines, rituals, and boundaries in place, not just to help you go to work like a healthy breakfast, but create upside for you to leave work, to stop at the end of the day and go home. And what works better than the smell of something delicious coming to you from the kitchen?
I agree.
Now, something that you and I have talked about when we think about easier is our circumstances are never more challenging than they are in our own minds.
Right.
So what if I told you you could make dinner for your entire family between meetings?
I would have a hard time believing that.
Yes, well, that's
I
all
wouldn't
right.
believe it.
We're going to look in the direction of how to make dinner easier and give you a reason to leave your office when you smell that delicious taste. So I'm going to teach you how to make, I think, one of your favorites, a chicken tortilla soup.
That is absolutely one of my favorites. How did you know that?
I can read minds.
I guess so.
That
Wow.
was easier, wasn't it?
It was.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn about cutting an onion.
Okay, cutting
and
an
if
onion.
you can shake hands, you can use a knife like a chef. So I want you to shake my hand, if you would, please.
Okay.
And that's the exact way you're going to grip this knife when I hand it to you, okay?
Okay.
All right, now shake that out. Perfect. All right, so the first thing is
Like you're
shaking hands with your knife. All right, like you've just found your new best friend. What I want you to do is to cut perfectly down through the center, maintaining that grip, and keep your fingers folded under so that you leave our segment with all of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so now that we've done that, we're going to turn this onion on its side. So we want to put flat side down. You do
Flat
one
side
half, I'll
same.
do the other.
Okay, gotcha.
So we're going to trim off both of the stems here. Okay, and let's just set those to the side. Great job.
Very good. I'm shaking hands all over the place.
Shaking hands. All right, we want to take this outside peel off.
Okay, got it.
You can set the knife down to do that. It's okay.
That makes it easier, doesn't it?
And what we're trying to do is something quick and easy. So
Okay.
we're just going to take this knife, keep your fingers folded under. Okay, keep your fingers
Yep.
folded under. And we just want to make a series of slices along through that onion. I had some of mine
I'm gonna
flip
watch
away.
you do it. I'm gonna watch you do it.
When you hit the point you're cutting closer to your fingers, you can flip it to the other side. So we keep slicing
Got
here.
it. Okay.
All right.
Yours are very uniform. I can't help but notice.
What's great about this recipe is that it is very forgiving, and what we're
Okay.
looking for is completing the task as opposed to doing it perfectly. Something I think you talk with your clients about on a pretty regular basis. I mean, how often do we let the perception that something has to be perfect get in our way of getting started?
I would say only all of the time.
What advice do you offer to people who get stuck in believing that they have to do everything perfectly for it to be done right?
Well, there's a misunderstanding behind being perfect. And as the saying goes, nobody's perfect, not even a perfect fool. So if we are trying to find perfection, what we will never seize on is action, because we'll be frozen. Because if we can't get it exactly right, we won't try, whatever it might be. And one of the things that I've discovered is that I'm very resourceful, which is not like me just paying myself a compliment. I'm saying human beings are resourceful. We are all resourceful. I've never made this dish before. I've never cut an onion like this before. And yet, look, right there. I don't know if it's perfect, but it's as close to it as I can get. And is it okay for me to just look at that and say, you know what? That's a job well done. Look, I know we're not done. But can I acknowledge that I just did something I've never done before? Now you may say, Chris, it's just cutting an onion. Why are you celebrating it? Well, what is it that we're doing that we don't celebrate, that we don't stop and recognize? We don't see our own resourcefulness. Why? Because we're so busy trying to find perfection. And we miss the perfection inside of ourselves. We see the perfection in a flock of birds. We see the perfection in a river, or we go to the ocean, we look at the perfection as the waves hit the shore, but we don't see we see perfection in nature, but we don't see perfection in our human nature. And that's not to say that I'm perfect. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a kindness in the design of the way that we are made. And the way that we are made is to be resourceful. And we strive for perfection as if we even know what that is or how that even exists. We don't. What we do understand is how to step into our identity as human beings, to try new things. Yes. And when you try new things, you never know what you might discover. And that really, I think, is at the heart of Easier and at the heart of my coaching practice and my work. It's about making those discoveries and discovering that, you know what, you're capable of more More than you might even realize, especially if you got a good coach.
Well, progress is all about taking one step at a time, and the next step in our discovery and creation process together is just for you to spray this pan. This is the lining of a crock pot.
Right.
So we're going to let time be on our side here and use the tools that will save us a little time. So go ahead and spray that down so that nothing sticks.
Sorry, I don't want this to get on you.
It's like we have hairspray. I'm not going to stick to anything the rest of the day. Maybe
right.
not even a point. So what we want you to do now is to just put all the onions that we cut up down inside of that bowl, if you would, please.
All right. Whoa.
And be careful as you move that knife blade toward you that you don't actually cut your hand. So,
Okay.
So maybe just picking up the onions would be okay.
The advanced class, I just got there. Okay, good. Knives are useful and also dangerous. You know what makes a tool, what makes any tool valuable? The way that you use it.
Well, yes. And it's so true, you know, with knives, with technology, I mean, any number of things, we want to be able to use them the right way. And I'm going to actually show you another technique that's going to help us as we add our garlic. So let me cut apart a clove or two for you here on our path to our soup. And if you just want to take the peel off of that.
Oh, okay.
Because that does not go inside of a delicious recipe. Just very simple, some fresh garlic cloves here.
Okay.
And what you want to do is pick up that knife again, just like we did before.
Yep.
We're going to cut off one tip.
Okay.
And then you can either flip the garlic or flip your knife and cut off the other one. We want to get all that peel off.
Got it.
And just like we did before, being careful with your fingers, we'll just slice some small slices with our garlic. And if you want to use your knife and think about it kind of as a lever where you move it back and forth.
Okay.
And get that gentle motion. What happens is when you use your knife correctly, you save energy so that your arm doesn't get tired. You don't get that tendonitis in your elbow or that achy hand feeling from overuse.
Already got tendonitis in my elbow.
It's too late. He should have come to the master class sooner. Well, once you have your garlic, we're just going to sprinkle that on top next.
Okay.
And what would chicken tortilla soup be without chicken? So I'd like you to
There
put
it
these
is.
2 chicken breasts, about a pound of chicken, just right on top of the garlic and the onions. And
Okay.
just to keep it safe, we've got a little sanitizing wipe here for you.
How nice. That's very thoughtful. Thank you. Okay.
And the next thing I'd like you to do is we're going to do a little measuring of spices. So if you could measure, this is a little cumin. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons of cumin and just sprinkle that on top.
2 of it, right?
2, please.
Okay, that's 1. And that's 2. Okay.
And then just sprinkle a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, just a pinch of each on top.
Okay. Is that about right?
That is exactly right.
Okay.
And then this is a very flexible recipe, and I can take that from you. So we're going to add in 3 cups of enchilada sauce. Just pour that on top.
Okay, 3 cups of enchilada sauce. Here we go.
And you can use diced canned tomatoes. Really, this is a great opportunity for utilization. You know, open your cabinets. If something sounds good and it's about 3 cups, put it in if that's what you want to be in your soup. There's an
Okay.
infinite number of possibilities.
There you go.
And then 3 cups of chicken stock.
Chicken stock. Here we go. It's good. The stock is rising.
Well,
Took me
hope
45
floats.
minutes to come up with that, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. All right, there we go. The stock is in.
Now, the only thing that's left to do is put the lid on this and put it on low in the crock pot and let it cook for 6 hours.
6 hours. Okay, got it.
Is this something that you believe you could do easily?
We just did it right now.
All right, well, let me show you what happens at the end. Once we finish up our cooking process and pull it out, we'll have an opportunity again to do some creation with what's on top. So I'm gonna ladle out for you what your creation becomes once you finish cooking that chicken and shred it.
I feel like I should
And then you can do your garnishes. Now in this one, I opted for a little creativity. So you're gonna see this one's a little thicker and chunkier. I added in some diced tomatoes just to change it up and demonstrate you can use anything you wish. And now there's a variety of garnishes here for you. We've got some cilantro. We have some cheese, some leftover rice if you want to stir that in.
Okay.
Tear up some pieces of tortilla, squeeze in a little lime. Any combination is possible.
Wow. So can I just...
Anything you want.
All right. Oh my gosh. A little cilantro, right? You got to have that. And I'm just going to grab a little bit of rice, just a little bit of rice to bring it in. Why not? What is this?
That is cilantro.
Oh, it's more cilantro.
Yeah, this one's whole and this one's
I got
chopped.
it. Okay,
Yes.
well, I already have
We have
cilantro,
choices.
so I don't need to double up on that. Then a little bit of lime, why not, right? Love those tomatoes in there as well. Wow, just fantastic. Okay, I'll set that there.
Well, and something that's great about this recipe that reminds me of your easier is it's all about utilization. I mean,
Sure.
you can use anything that you can find to stir into this, make something taste better. How do you think about utilizing all of your talents inside of this time of transition? As you know, you mentioned you're coaching people who are looking for new ways to discover their impact. They're looking for choices out of being stuck. How do you coach them forward? What does utilization look like now?
Well, it's really interesting. I was just at the South by Southwest conference, and there was a pitch competition there. And one of the clients that I was working with in the pitch competition, I came up to her after she presented, and she went through Q&A in front of the judges, and I said, how do you think you did? And she said, I don't think I did very well because they stopped asking me questions, and I just felt like they weren't very interested. And I said, could it be that they stopped asking you questions because you did such a thorough job of answering the ones that they had? She said, I never thought of it that way. And so many times there's a path that we don't see. I mean, like I'm looking at that rice and I'm like, can I put rice in this? But here's what's so phenomenal. You're giving me permission to do it. And when I'm with you and you know what you're doing, I do not, obviously, but you know what you're doing and you say, well, of course you can try that. Of course you can. Of course, there's another possibility. And that's the power of coaching. And for my client at South by Southwest, there was a possibility she didn't entertain. She was only willing to look at the fact that she wasn't enough, that she didn't give the judges what they were looking for. And I thought, well, what if you did? What if the reason that they did what they did is not something that you know? Because, and this is something that you've said, knowing is often the enemy of discovering. Because we can't do two things at once. You can't fish and ride a bicycle. Think about it. And so if we're busy knowing, I know what this is all about, we're not going to discover. And if I know that I can't put cilantro in this, and you say, yes, you can, that introduces possibilities into the conversation. And when possibilities are out of the conversation, when you don't see possibilities, you know what that means? First of all, things are not easier. Life is going to be difficult. Yeah. And it might be time to find someone who knows a little something that might help you to find some fluidity, some flexibility, some options. Because really, life gets easier when we see that there are options. And I want to say something, if I can, that life is not necessarily easy. I don't want people to think, this guy read a book called Easier because he thinks everything's easy. It's not. Yeah. Life can be very, very difficult sometimes. And in fact, in the story, there are some very difficult circumstances that if you read the book, you'll find out what I'm talking about. But inside those difficult circumstances, there are new possibilities. And no matter what you're going through, you can always enjoy some tortilla soup.
Well,
that's what I'm going to do right now.
Well, as you take a taste, first of all, we want to know how you did.
Ooh, it's hot. This is so good. This is fantastic. Gosh, it's the broth. I just love the broth here, but everything that's in it. There's just so much flavor. There's so much going on.
Yes.
It's really rich. I love it. Wow.
Well, when I think about what's happening in so many organizations right now, there's this gap between employers and employees. Mm-hmm. In so many ways, we're trying to close this gap between what employers are willing to offer and what employees expect. And the solution in many cases has been, I quit. Either I quit this company, I'm going to kind of quit on the job and not be engaged, I'm going to quit trying to solve this. What advice would you offer to employers and employees about how to go from I quit to I commit? Because that's really what you're talking about is change requires commitment. Commitment can come from choices. What advice would you offer to so many organizations who are struggling right now?
Commitment is vital. And if you want to create greater commitment, you have to look at the nature of commitment. Because when we understand the nature of a thing, right, when we understand how a thing works, then we can make that thing work for us. So the nature of commitment involves a couple of things. It involves action. And so if you're feeling like the answer is I need to quit, I would say then commit. to take the action that you feel is on your heart. And I'm not here to say, well, stay at your job or leave, or only you can decide that for yourself. But whatever it is that you choose to do, commit to taking action. And people often, they go, well, I don't want to commit because I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. Let me tell you something about life. None of us knows how it's going to turn out. There's uncertainty all around us. And this is from a guy who tries desperately to manage his calendar and to plan everything out. But you know what? Uncertainty always exists. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying this is the way the world works. And if you think that everything has to be buttoned up and buttoned down in order for you to move forward, you're never going to move forward. Whether it's to a greater commitment to the job that you have, or to a new position or a new opportunity, or into the world of entrepreneurship, or whatever it is that suits your needs. But I think that commitment is key, and people look at commitment like they have to have some enormous goal out there of something that they want to, it's not here at this company, but it'll be somewhere else, and I've got this big, hairy, audacious goal that I want to pursue. And the thing that I want to say is that the way that you create new opportunities, in fact, the way that you create the impossible, is by doing the doable. And taking that first step is what makes things easier. And understanding that you don't have to know what step 19 is going to be. You don't have to know what 2026 is going to look like in order to move forward. You don't. And if you hold that over your head, you'll never take action, because it's an impossible question. Predict the future. Who can do that? It's impossible. But what can we do? Well, we can do what we can with what we have right now. And what do we have right now? We have right now. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And so commitment to me looks like a couple of things. One, it looks like doing the doable, and then just remembering what discipline is really all about. Discipline is remembering what it is that you want, and finding some compassion for yourself, for your organization, for your career, whatever that might be, but starting with some compassion, some self-care for yourself, and deciding that you're worth it to take the action that you need, and then commit to that first step. Nothing more, nothing less. Commit to that first step, and understand that the way that we are wired as human beings, not motivational, this is science, is to figure things out. Whether it's tortilla soup or where we need to take our careers. Those answers are available to us, but through the noise we aren't able to listen, we aren't able to hear, we aren't able to discover. When our thinking settles down, new ideas show up, new opportunities show up, and those opportunities might just be something very delicious.
Well, if you're looking to make things easier, start by doing the doable. Did our recipes feel doable today?
Yes, and for a complete novice, yes, absolutely. Wow.
Well, we always have the opportunity to choice, and choice is available right here, right now. And when I think about seeing new possibilities, and when I think about easier, it begins with your very next email, your very next conversation, your very next consideration or decision. So thanks so much for being with us today and helping us look in the direction of how could we make our work and our lives easier.
Thanks for having me.